So it's about 12 o'clock midnight right now. I don't sleep. I have a sleeping disorder called insomnia or zombia, whatever you prefer to call it as. There was a conversation about yesterday. I was on live with I guess an Instagram broadcaster. I'm not going to say her name. She doesn't like to be put out there like that, or to have people really mention her. She doesn't like traffic like that, so I'm not going to do it. But I know a lot of us that joined the live, she usually cams up with another person who we all love and adore, but there's been some problems lately, and I cammed up yesterday and talked about what goes, the kind of like what happens with people with special needs. With this live that I'm doing, it will be saved, and I do want to break down more in depth about people with special needs and what goes on with that, because I can truly relate, and I just want to really break it down to people that are curious, or people that are putting up with people with special needs, because there's ways to go about certain issues rather than taking the usual approach. And I'm really going to start with myself, if anything, first. So, dealing with somebody with special needs, it usually goes through genetics. Genetics in terms of DNA from either the mother side of the family or the father side of the family. Along with that goes through side effects during birth. With me, my mother, she wasn't a clean person. I'm just going to put it like that. Wasn't a clean person, smoking and drinking when she had me. That is considered a drug. Because of that, my body was born ill. I was born very sick. I had to be put on steroids for my body to catch up. I was in the hospital for a very, very long time. There is an autopsy report on my body because of how sick I was being born, and during birth, I did manage to die twice. I do not remember it. That's why there is an autopsy report on my body. So, there's that half right there. During the process, my body had certain troubles malfunctioning. One of them is trying to, bathroom-wise, so I had to have plug-ins certain area of my body, and also in my head as well. That's why I keep my hair long a lot, because I have scars. And usually if I don't have my hair, I wear a hat as well, so I cover up those scars where those plugins are. There are pictures of that, but it's something I'm not going to show. Along with all that, my body and the inside with organs were messed up. My lungs were heavily damaged. Over the time, I would develop asthma, which was always there. I had to be put on breathing treatments, machines to help me breathe. And it was like that a good majority of my life. I still have a hard time breathing at times. I do. Later on, I would grow to have not just lung problems, but heart problems as well. Liver failure, losing sight in my right eye. Also being type 3 diabetic as well. One could say, oh, so you were born a crack baby. Well, not everyone is going to be crippled as a crack baby. Not everyone's going to be in an automated chair I understand that's the most common, but that's also considered a, what's the word I'm looking for? Stereotype as well, because not everyone's going to be the same. Not everyone's case is going to be the same. Everyone is going to be different. Everyone's going to be different. Later on, not just because of my health issues, but there would be learning issues. You know, and I have been in special education classes a good majority of my school years in my life. It just wouldn't be me. This is something that is genetics throughout my mother's side of the family. My cousin was in special ed a lot. One of her birth side effects, she has to get the inside of her head drained because there would be water built up. My niece, she has learning disabilities. So there's that. One of my nieces cannot be around humid weather because she'll pass out. So that is also a side effect as well of being quote unquote, I guess you should say, special needs. When you're in education classes, we all know what being dyslexic is. Mine would also not just be dyslexic, but dyscalculia as well, that has something to do with numbers, math, and money. And people who are dyslexic along with dyscalculia as well. And dyscalculia is a bit of a rare one to have. And I would so happen to have it, and still do have it. Again, you got to remember, this is through birth, through genetics. This isn't something that's, boom, automatically you just get. It's not. And you see numbers and letters backwards, if that makes sense. Like your letters, you would see them as numbers. Your numbers, you would see them as letters. And over time, within your earlier years of that, you are going to completely struggle with reading and writing. And I struggled the most with that. I 100% struggled. Like I said, over time that stuff gets better because it's practice. With me, one of the main things I still have problems with today is spelling rather than reading, if you will. But today's technology makes things easier because of that. When dealing with somebody with learning disabilities, you want to not be rash. You want to be as calm and steady as possible, because if you're going to be rash about it, it's going to make the person that you're trying to help not just difficult, but they're not going to respond well to you. They're not going to respond well to whoever who's trying to help them, because to them, they're going to shut down. Two, they will act up, and that is a defense mechanism that special needs people use. Third, they are going to defend themselves through words. So if you're attacking them verbally, they're going to attack you back. I have been known to do that. Fourth is going to be, if you lay physical contact, you're going to expect physical contact back, because when they're backed into a corner, they become the most dangerous. So this is when psyche comes in with mental health as well. People with special needs do go through that. They're just going to attack. Now, the repercussions of that is not good. That makes the situations much, much more rash and harder, because now with the psyche part of that, again with the mental health, it's going to be different. How can I describe it? As being once grew up as a delinquent, then in my older years going to jail several times, you're going to develop a sense of a bit of PTSD. You're going to shut down. You're going to be paranoid. You're going to be on the offense, and you're going to look for people you can connect to not go down a dark place during that. That's why you have to deal with people with special needs differently than you would with anybody else. Again, physical contact with hitting is not the answer. My mother used to call me names and used to hit me a lot because she had a hard time putting up with me trying to learn and trying to teach me, and she didn't know what she was doing, and because of that, that made it worse and stuff that I explained. So a special needs child is not going to work well with the parents. That's why you have to get an outside stranger or test people out with who the child, right? Even as a teenager as well, you're still considered a child throughout your elementary years, your middle school years, your high school years. Somebody who they can connect with. Now, information gets processed differently through people with special needs. Nothing's going to click right away like it would do with normal people. It's not going to click right away. They're not going to understand. This can be through so many years, even in their adult years as well. Like me, I'm 29 years old. I got 5 months before I'm 30. Now, me, as you get older, yes, you're going to understand certain things. Compared to when you're younger. People with special needs, again, it's going to take a bit longer. There's some things I understand now that I didn't understand back then, and there's some things now that I still cannot process. So nothing's going to stay and click right away. So with that part as well, what comes in effect even more so, depression is one. You have your different forms of depression. You do. One form of depressions would definitely be suicide. Suicidal depression. I go through that. One is also mood swings. I also go through that as well. One thing people with special needs also goes into play. We are the most lone people, and we don't like to be alone. That's why we are the most clingiest of people, because we don't like to be alone. We want to have friends. We want to have people to talk to be around people, somebody who will listen and to communicate. Because people with special needs, we like to do that, not out of doing it out of I don't know the proper word I want to use right now, but I don't know. It's something that's really kind of hard to describe. Like, we don't like to be alone, but we don't like to be bothered either. But we do want to have people around us, somebody to hang out with, somebody to talk to, somebody to, keep us company. And that's why when somebody leaves, we get a certain way, and it affects us, mentally as well, because we feel like we have done something wrong, and that's why we're the most apologetic people when it comes to being special needs. Another thing as well that might be a bit hard to describe is we are the most sexually active people, because if anything, yes, we do look for sex, but we look for sex because we want to be loved, to fall in love, and to have somebody to be with in a relationship. And that also plays a role with wanting to have somebody to be around as well. Now, you do have cases where somebody with special needs is going to try to play both sides of the coin. Like, you're going to have somebody out in public that's going to act a certain way, that's going to kind of want to talk in slurs within a tongue, act stupid, because they do that to gain attention, are known as attention seekers. Behind closed doors, they are able to talk clear, to talk normal, especially around those who they truly communicate with. That would also, in between those lines, right there, would be considered, if anything, a mental illness of a personality disorder. You do have that. That's why some people who say, well, I don't know why he or she acts this way in public, but when they're with such and such, they talk this way, they act this way. Again, the reason really for that, not just because attention seekers, but it's a mental illness of a personality disorder. That's why they act like that. Now, as we start to wrap this up, it's not safe to leave it's not safe to leave a special needs person in the care of guardians. I don't care, man, if it's a brother, a sister, or a grandparent, because that makes situations worse for them, because then they're cut off. Their money, if anything's going to be took and used by them. That's been known to happen to me with what my parents did to me. They took my money and spent it on shit they wanted, put things underneath my name that got me not just investigated, but in trouble with the federal system. The DA, okay, the FBI, the Special Victims Unit. Yeah. Again, to know more about that in particular story, if anybody's really curious about it, I'm going to link that video down below in the description, and it's going to be called Trust and Money In-Depth Interview, and it's about 2 hours long, but it goes into a lot of detail. A lot of people with special needs are going to grow up street smart more than anything. They are. And these are the ones at the most that do know how to take care of themselves, that know how to talk like I do, that can brush their teeth, know how to wash themselves, and dress. Most majority that we would have problems with is cooking and doing clothes. So we need help with that. It's okay to have an aide. It's okay. Those that cannot take care of themselves, who are more so worse off, yeah, they need the most help that they can get, but they are afraid to ask for it. It is not okay to charge special needs with rent. It is not. If anything, that falls underneath the citizen of disability law. If somebody lives with their parents who are like that, again, I go into detail about my own experience with the interview I did. And it's just not me. There's a lot of people, who are going to be like that. Again, it's just not, parents, grandparents, brothers and sisters, right? If you're charging somebody special needs rent, you're stealing money from them is what you're doing, and that's illegal to do. The only way if you charge a special needs person with rent, if they're on their own and somebody that, again, with what I just explained, somebody who knows how to take care of themselves like I do, then okay, but you have to be a landlord. If you're not a landlord and you're charging money from them, then what you're doing is illegal. It very much is. Along with being special needs as well, we are the most intelligent people, the most smart, the most artistic as well. We are that. We are the most intelligent and artistic people as well. What else is there that I can, that I can fill in? Man, not much else. Not much else, man. But, I just wanted to break down what really goes on people with special needs, more so in depth. And to break down the main ones again, you have those that are attention seekers that like to play both sides of the coin. But reason why that is, again, the mental illness with personality disorder, it's best to be as calm as possible. If you are a parent with a child with special needs and your child is not connecting well to you, it's best to really leave them in the hands of strangers, somebody who they can click to, somebody who they can connect with, somebody who they feel safe around and have fun with. We do not like to be alone. We like to be around people. We like to talk to people a lot. We like to open up and to share a lot of our experiences. We are the most intelligent and the most artistic people. It is not best to have physical abusive content towards people with special needs, because again, that makes the situation for them later on in life much more difficult, and why they don't connect well to certain things. And the reason why, when we get backed into a corner, if you call us names, expect to be called names back. If you lay hands on us, expect us to be very violent, very dangerous. There's going to be certain things that will trigger us, that will make us want to get authorities involved. If we feel like our lives are in fear for our own safety, most of it has something to do with words. We do get the most sensitive. We do get the most sensitive. One thing I do want to fill in, I guess, a little bit, and I talked about this in depth and in detail about a video that I did with my personal experiences called Fake Diploma. When your child, you need to have a backup plan for your child once they get out of high school. I'm not going to go too much detail in depth, but I will link that video down below in the description of this one. It's called Fake Diploma. And pretty much, I'm intelligent. I really am an intelligent person. If anything, I'm up there with a university student. I had 3 years of high school, but I got to skip my junior year and went straight to senior year, right? Because one, my age, two, how smart I was, again, with me being intelligent. When I got ready to walk, I thought, to me, that moment felt real, but after about maybe 13 years later, which I found out early of this year in January, that, I never really graduated. It was something that was put together for me to get me the hell on out of there. Something called the No Child Left Behind Act through the years of Bush and Obama. And it's pretty much a program for people with troubled youth, people that have trouble or couldn't afford to go to school, being brought up in a poor family, and people with learning disability who are special needs. I would fit those categories. So that program was used for what I just explained, to pass them on by. Like, here's an example. Like me, I did work hard a good majority of my life, but once I found out what I found out, the awards that I got, stamps of approval, the grades that I made were pretty much all fucking for nothing, and that's what made it feel so fucking fake. So in other words, it was just given to me. And I went through a lot of that stuff when I found out, and I threw it away because it's something for me not to be proud of, since I was found out stuff was just given to me just to get me on out of there. And when I looked at my diploma, it was a fake diploma that was bought offline. It didn't have the regular seal stamp of approval that was black and white. I was an honor roll student, so I would have gotten a silver stamp of approval. I would have got the regular and the silver stamp, but I didn't. The highest you could go is 3, which is black and white, which is the regular one, the silver stamp of approval, which is high honors, I think. And then there's the golden one, which I'm really not sure what the golden one is, but it's like 3 of them. On a rare occasion, you can get 4, but that's on a rare occasion. And again, I go more in depth about that. So I'm going to be linking that video as well down in the description below this video. But again, for those that are curious, why certain people with disabilities, special needs, or why we are the way we are now, and I hope I was able to give whoever watches this video some knowledge about that. I will say this, when we go to select the doctors, and even labeled by the state, we are labeled as retardation. That is a word nobody likes. I personally do not like it. If you come attacking a person who's like that, you can expect repercussions, man. Either somebody's gonna beat the fuck out of you, or a law will get involved, and then you're gonna be facing some trouble right there as well. When you go to the doctor on our medical records, they put, because we are the way that we are, they put having learning disabilities or special needs down as a CDC, as a disease, if you will. So, I'm not going to show my medical form because I'm honest, it's in the computer, and I don't have access to, the medical system like that. A lot of my jail records, when it comes down to diseases, they put down, special needs as a disease. And that's one thing that it's not. It's not a disease. But that, man, we have a hard life, man. We do. I remember hearing a story. I don't want to make this video too long, but I remember hearing a story. Somebody has the same story, kind of like me, if you will. And he chose to be homeless because after what he found out when he got out of high school about his diploma, so he chooses to live on the streets. He does, because to him, in his mind and his world, it's the only place that he feels like it's normal to him. The only thing that he has is a phone, and his mother and his aunt help him keep his phone on. And that is pretty sad, man. It is. A good majority of people in the streets that join gangs, that die every day from the street life, people who sell drugs, are going to be those with disability issues. the most. Matter of fact, now that I think about it, some people are going to ask, well, what about programs? There are no programs for people with special needs. Whatever programs are out there, I do not recommend those programs, because behind closed doors, those programs are abusive to those people. To learn more about my story with the program I was in called TRC, I'm going to link that video also down in the description below this one. So there's going to be 3 videos that are going to be related to this one. One of them is going to be called Trust and Money In-Depth Interview, Fake Diploma, Worst Program, TRC. And it all ties into this video to give people more of an understanding. Again, not just what I went through with my experiences, but what people who with disabilities and special needs and mental illnesses do go through. So I hope you guys enjoyed the video. I'm out, and peace.